blessed.
Good evening and welcome to the July 11th board meeting of the Escambia Children's Trust. Before we get started, I would kindly ask that all cell phones be turned off or put on silent mode. If you have any public comments, please complete the public speaker form located on the table to the left of the podium over there and turn it in to one of the ladies at the table down here. This meeting is being called to order at 5:30. Ms. Ellis, can you please proceed with roll call?
Ms. Woods,
Present.
Ms. Hightower,
Present.
Mr. Peden,
Present.
Dr. Northup,
Present.
Mr. Leonard, Mr. Socks,
Present.
Commissioner May, Ms. White,
Here.
Judge Harris, Pastor Wesley. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner May, would you lead us, please?
Thank you. Please join me in the pledge to our great country. I pledge allegiance
Thank you, Commissioner. If everyone has had time to review the agenda, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda approved. Next, we have approval of the minutes. Staff recommends that the board approve the minutes of the June 13, 2023 regular board meeting as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And now we hand the floor over to Mr. Peden for the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your packet, you'll see the financial statement, also the detailed financial highlights that shows that we have no unusual or abnormal transactions conducted during the month. We are very fortunate, I believe, to have Tammy Abrams as our CFO, financial guru that keeps us in line, so we appreciate your work. And as we go through this tonight, you'll understand a little more why with out of school time budget amendments and things that we're going to be talking about. But is there any questions regarding the financial statements? Without objection.
I didn't have a question, but I just had a comment that I wanted to make. And I asked Tammy about this after our finance meeting this afternoon. I got a little confused with the negative amounts on the year-to-date budget variance revised on page 1. I guess it's the budget, page 1. And she clarified for me that the budget amount is not necessarily annualized budget, that's like either the adjusted monthly budget or something year-to-date budget. And the thing that threw me was the car allowance because it shows a negative amount. There's sufficient budget for the car allowance. It's just that it's paid out at the pay period, and if you get $150 a pay period, then that equals about $3,900 in a budget. This shows like $2,400, so it shows it as a negative $150, but that was because there was a third pay period in that month, and that just throws it out of whack. So I asked Tammy if she could actually give us a budgeted amount so we wouldn't have any negatives, because negatives don't look good to people.
Yeah, very good.
I just asked her to do that. If she's going to look at the software and see if that can be done. We'll see. Thank you.
Very good. Is there any further questions? Without objection, financial statements are accepted. Was that Ms. Hightower for the auditors? Filed for audit. Thank you. That's a new one for us, so thank you very much. All right, so you'll see the out-of-school time budget amendments in your packet as well. It's a spreadsheet that lists many of our partners that we are funding. These are minor adjustments on reimbursement requests, and we did not take any monies away from these different not-for-profits, but we did reclassify them to different parts of the budget. And a lot of that was due to the work of Tammy Abrams of when she got the reimbursements, realizing that they need to go in a different category. So we had a finance meeting before this meeting today and went through each one of them, and it was explained which sums of money are going where and why. So if there's any questions with this, if not, we'll move to approve it.
So moved.
All right, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
As opposed? All right, thank you. And then you'll see the ratification amendment of Resolution 2023-11. This is a amended resolution. We passed one last month that's getting us prepared for the proposed millage rate that's coming up for our 2023-2024 fiscal year. And we have to make sure that our ducks in a row before we go to that trim meeting. But we are going to be having a trust budget workshop coming up to go through the different levels of the millage rate and what each allocation may look like. But as for this resolution, this is for us to send, I believe, back to the county commission as part of our policy to make sure that we have that we're, like I said, we're doing our due diligence. So, go ahead. Okay. There's a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
As opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Keating. Next, we have Ms. Greer to present her Executive Director's Report. Ms. Greer?
So the recent highlights this month look a whole lot like the recent highlights of last month because we are just continuing to rock and roll along with the programs that we have funded. But we did issue the mental health RFP, and we have the roster of the review committee members on the agenda for your consideration tonight. All of the resumes are in the packet. And the deadline for applications is July 26th, which is just right around the corner. And so far, we've got some organizations that have already registered in SAMUS, and they're already working on their applications. And we're doing what we're calling office hours. So people can call and make an appointment, and then they can have one-on-one conversations. Kimberly is doing those sessions so that if folks need some help getting things into SAMUS or trying to, understand the RFP or any of the parameters, she's working with them through those office hours. The policy committee and the program committee both met earlier this month, and you'll see some policies also on the agenda that are coming before you. We're just trying to tweak some of the policies. Things look good in writing when we put them down initially, and then we operationalize them, and we realize that we need to change a few things. So that's what you're going to see a lot of on the agenda tonight. The community engagement coordinator position was advertised. We got well over 50 applications in 2 weeks. Some really highly qualified individuals. We interviewed the top 5 and asked them all the same questions, and we had one clear winner who was head and shoulders above the rest. His name is Michael Moore, and he is going to be joining us on July 24th. So we're very excited about that. And it'll be just in time to help us get all the information out about our upcoming strategic planning information sessions and town halls. So the other thing that we've been working on, and I have to give a shout out to our legal counsel again, because Meredith pulled together our contract for the Help Me Grow program, and that one looks a little different than the out-of-school time programs because they're a lead agency. So they have the contract, and we're just waiting for them to sign it and return it, and then that program will be up and running. And I have to say that Marianne Bickerstaff from Art Gateway has been just incredible. She's already got all kinds of wheels turning, and there's so much momentum in the provider community, and so everyone's really super excited about that program. So I'm very happy and excited to see that get going. The out-of-school time programs, the summer programs are going well. We've got lots of data coming in. People are entering the information about the participants in SAMUS. We're working through the reimbursements. Things are going smoothly. We're incredibly busy, and it's going to get even busier when we hit fall, because then we'll have those after-school programs starting up too, and many of the summer programs will continue to be year-round programs. So we're moving right along with that. There's no change on the status of the gubernatorial appointments, but I did hear from Little Birdie that Leon got one of their appointments seated. So there's hope. So things are starting to move, maybe. So we could have.
It was Alachua, Tammy.
It's Alachua. Oh, so the Little Birdie says it's Alachua. I stand corrected. So thank you. So, but that's good news, because they had sent back the entire roster for Alachua, and so they got the second group through, and someone was appointed. But we're just going to go with no news is good news, because we hope that Dr. Northup is able to stay with us, and so I will keep you posted. As soon as I hear, I will let you all know. So we talked about the staffing plan at the last couple of meetings, and so the next one up is the grant accountant, and that is in your packet today as well. And this is on the approved staffing plan. Just wanted to show you kind of where they fall, and we are getting buried with reimbursement requests from providers. And when the mental health programs come on board, because we certainly intend to fund more than one of those if the board sees fit. So we're gonna need some more help, because we are tracking every penny of taxpayer dollars to make sure that it is spent only on qualified children in Escambia County. So that's the grant accountant, and it was on the staffing plan for August. So I just wanted to show you that, just so that you didn't think it was something new, because I know you all have a lot going on in your day jobs. So some other things on the horizon. Again, this looks a lot like it did last month. We've got the 25 active contracts. It'll be 26 once we add Help Me Grow. Then we are still waiting for the new office space. I got word from Dr. Meadows today that we can use some additional space where we are. And Achieve Escambia is going to be moving in next door to us. They have a new executive director. Ruthie Noel from Ready Kids is now their executive director. So there's some synergy with our work. So we're all going to be in our same little space for now, and then we'll be moving into the new building, we hope, in September. So you'll see a lease as soon as I get it. We have the budget process. So our workshop for the budget is on the 19th. I've got the list of dates on the last slide, and I'll make sure that you all have them, and you probably have gotten way more calendar requests from us lately than you wanted. So odds are you already know all the dates. We're starting up the Help Me Grow. Like I said, Marianne has just taken that and run with it, which is awesome. We've got the strategic planning process going on. I'm going to start getting information out about those town hall sessions. I need to do some press releases and things. And so you'll start to see some information, I hope, out in the community about our upcoming town hall sessions around strategic planning. The mental health RFP, like I mentioned, we're working on that. And then we are continuing to monitor the out-of-school time programs. And when we monitor them, we know that we're driving them crazy because we're asking for a whole lot of detail. But we really are trying to be helpful and provide technical assistance. And if they will learn all this and bear with us, then they will be able to manage any kind of grant from the state, from the federal government, from other funders. So there really is a lot of value just in our process. So we're happy to do that, and we're just working with them. So if you get calls from providers and they're frustrated with us, please call me, please let me know, because I will work with them, and we're doing everything we can to accommodate them, but we have to have the same rules for everybody. And then we're also working on continuing to help build the capacity of local agencies. So I'm trying to connect folks with other grant opportunities, with other partners in the community, just so that they can work together, because we want to try to prevent duplication of efforts and duplication of services anywhere that we can. And sometimes that's just as simple as connecting two different groups that didn't know they were doing the same thing. And so we're in a unique position to see that. And then the last slide, which is always the best, right? So the important dates coming up. And we got a lot of things with, and this is just between now and the first week of August. So in the next 3 weeks, we have all these different meetings coming up. Now, you all are certainly not expected to be at all of these meetings. The strategic planning leadership findings report, that is tomorrow. That is mostly staff, and I believe Tori is going to be there. She's on the design team with us as the chair. But we will then share those results with the whole board, but you don't have to be at that meeting unless you just want to. Then we've got the stakeholder dialogue session, which I'm going to get the invitation out for that probably tomorrow, if not Thursday. And then we've got the town hall sessions, which have been finalized. And you'll notice that those dates are different because we bumped up against some other meetings. So this is the finalized date, and we're going to start advertising. So that's it. And thank you all.
Tammy, for the August meeting, could we meet Mr. Moore? Could we have an agenda item where he comes and
Sure.
kind of tells us about himself and
Absolutely.
tells us about some of his ideas around community engagement?
Yeah,
It'd be great to
absolutely.
do that. Thank you.
Absolutely. If he's watching now, he's got his first assignment.
Thank you, Ms. Greer. As we move on to the action items, are there any public comments regarding action items? None? The first order of business is operations. Ms. Hightower will be presenting several policy and bylaw amendment recommendations. Is there a preference by the board to vote individually on each recommendation or hear them all out and then vote?
Individually.
Okay, you ready? Thank you to all those who attended the Policy and Bylaws Committee meeting. We had a lot of issues to take care of. Our first recommendation is for Resolution 2023-12 to amend the Trust Policy Manual, removing the cone of silence and creating a limitation on communications policy. We discussed this several times, trying to figure out the best way to make sure that we as a board do not get in trouble for having conversations with those who are interested in applying for different grants that we offer, but also affording the public the ability to be able to talk with staff to get additional information from them. So this is basically what that says. There's any questions that I may answer for you?
I have a comment on the policy. Do I need to wait till it's moved, or can I ask a question? now?
It came as a recommendation from the committee.
Okay, so I can ask a question?
Yep, well-
So, page 4,
Okay,
lines,
I have to find it.
lines 27 and 28, it adds the words "and post-award activities" to the scope, and the limitation on communication period should end at award, should not include post-award activities. So I just recommend leaving off those last 3 words and ending the sentence at contract award.
It's on page 4.
Yeah, lines 27 and 28.
Okay. So you're offering that as an amendment?
Yes.
Okay. I can second it, I guess. I was waiting for somebody to second.
I'll second.
Now, do we need to put it to a vote? this
This would be an amendment to what's here, so we would be voting on the amendment first. I'm sorry, Ms. Wood. And the amendment would be, if you're looking at 6.2 scope, he's asking to delete everything after contract, is that correct?
Delete after contract award.
Yeah.
Probably
So
need to
we're
have the
deleting
word
and
"and."
post-award activities, basically.
Probably need that word,
Correct.
add the word "and" prior to contract award, and then place the period after the word award.
Is there a problem, let me ask our attorney, is there any issues with that amendment legally? No, I think that's correct. Okay.
Any discussion? Or no
Any
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, now you have to ask if there are any questions on the rest of that one, and then we vote on the whole
Okay. So are there any questions on the rest of the
resolution.
resolution? No questions?
Okay.
We have a first, we need a,
Then we have to vote on the resolution as a whole.
so now we are currently voting on the first resolution for policy and bylaws.
So moved.
There was a recommendation and a second, but we now have to vote on the whole thing because we only did the amendment. So we're at voting on the resolution.
So all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the first policy passes.
Okay. It's a learning process.
Yes.
I think I'll just do it this way. The second resolution, wait a minute, am I on the right one? 13. Yeah, I'm on 13, yeah. Resolution 2023-13 deals with funding the purchase of motor vehicles. We have done that in a couple of grant things, and we have added some language that will help us get more credit, let me just put it that way, for those vehicles that we purchase for use. And this just kind of clears up all of those things about the purchase of vehicles. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a comment on page 2. I'm very sensitive to liability issues related to vehicle purchases,
Yes.
especially as being used by our subcontracted providers.
Yes.
In paragraph 2, lines 6 through 9, it talks about insurance.
Right.
But then down in E, lines 29 through 32, it deals with the trust administration, including responsibility for administering the policy, managing purchases, ensuring compliance with insurance requirements, driver qualifications, which is really scary. And I would say that, one, the insurance provision above needs to have a requirement to indemnify the trust. It also needs to have a requirement somewhere in the upper section to make sure the vehicles are inventoried at least annually, so we know what the status of the vehicle is. And I think the entire section below where it says 29 through 32, ECT administration, it needs to be rewritten to have an oversight role, but not a administration role, because that sounds a little bit too close to liability to me.
Yep,
I think the intent is oversight,
yep.
but not this wording. So
Maybe the best would be to send this back to committee because we're
that's what I
meeting.
would recommend.
Yeah,
Yep.
for further, yeah.
With those notes, unless somebody else has any other opinions, so.
No, we
Walter,
kind of
you
talked about that a little bit, yeah.
You expressed mine exactly. That was the point I was going to raise. Not nearly as eloquently as you did, but
Yeah.
yes, I had the same concerns.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So moved.
I'll second that. Okay, we'll send that one back to committee. All right, well, we have to vote to do that.
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor of sending it back to the committee?
Aye.
Any opposed? Send it back.
Okay. Resolution 2023-14 deals with the policy manual fiscal operations. I'm trying to remember. I'm just trying to. I left my notes at home.
Patty, we removed.
Yeah, this had to do with the removing of the accounting firm language. Basically.
Giving the power to the finance director rather than the accounting firm?
Yeah, we had hired an accounting firm, and so all through the bylaws, it referred to the accounting firm rather than our finance director. We no longer, I think, maybe this month was the last month using the accounting firm. It's now all in-house.
I do
Walter
have,
has some sage advice down there.
Yeah, in this referendum, I believe I called it.
We need to put him
Yep.
on the policy.
Resolution, there's a reference to MIP, which is an accounting software, and it's replacing what was formerly written as QuickBooks Online Plus. I recommend that in the document, it just say approved accounting software.
I think you're
If you
right.
change another time, you have to keep doing changes to this, and what's the point? So everywhere it says MIP should be just changed to approved accounting software.
I agree. I saw the same thing when I read through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the amendment would be to change anywhere it says QuickBooks/MIP, which was a substituted applicable accounting software.
Approved accounting software.
Approved. Okay. I'll second that.
Second that if needed.
Any discussion? All in favor of the amendment?
Yeah.
Any opposed? So now we are voting on the resolution.
If there's any further discussion,
Is
on
there any
any
further-
other questions?
Further discussion on the resolution?
Well, so far Walter's hitting and batting 1,000 feet on
is
my
good.
questions and things, so just please continue, sir.
All right.
No further questions, so we are voting. All in favor of the resolution with the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes.
Okay, and then amendment, Resolution 2023-15 is to allow virtual committee meetings. We have found that quorums at committees, and sometimes it's easier for people to be able to Zoom in rather than to have to drive in for these meetings. This establishes an opportunity, there's a lot of information in here about how we protect the public's ability to interact with us in a virtual environment. It is not the desire of this resolution that we move to virtual meetings, but should the occasion happen that we need to include people with virtually, or we find that it might be necessary to have a virtual meeting, then we have everything in here about how to make sure that the public has the opportunity to be involved in that meeting. Mr. Sachs?
Ms. Hightower, may I point out that this includes workshops as well?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-15.
Thank you. It came as a recommendation from the committee, so it needs no
Okay.
second.
Any further discussion or questions?
In terms of Walter's, about the software, Zoom is like Kleenex or Xerox.
Right.
So should we use a word that's, if you're using Teams or something else, use it virtual? See,
It
Walter,
says
I'm paying
virtual
attention.
in here. I don't think it,
You know, it says Zoom
Yes.
on line number 28 for
Okay.
page 1,
And
at least.
line 25 on page 3, and I think it's, and line 20 on page 3.
yeah, I'm 43, yeah. So can we just,
Recommend changing the word Zoom to virtual software.
yeah, I think just a virtual, and can we just say
Right.
virtual?
Platform.
Virtual
Platform.
platform or virtual means.
Yeah. Can we just do that if nobody objects? We'll just do that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Move the amended resolution to change the word from Zoom to virtual platform.
So this is the whole thing.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the amendment?
Of the amended motion.
Amended motion.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So that approves for the amended motion for the resolution.
And there's one, is that one mine? Yeah, there's one more. Resolution 2023-16, which is under the purchasing card authorization. next on your agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. And this was to raise the purchasing amount limit on the credit card. They realized as people were going to conferences that sometimes it takes a little bit more, what was your limit before? I forgot. 5,000 to be able to put everything, get everything in order before they went, so they needed to. And there was another thing Tammy was talking about, that were times that we needed to have a little more. Could you elaborate on that for me? I've forgotten.
Yes, we're going to be outfitting our training room and the meeting room as we move to our new location. And if we're purchasing 10 computers and stuff like that, it's going to definitely exceed the $5,000 limit.
Any questions?
And that was a recommendation from the committee as well, so.
I just have a comment on the structure of the resolution and the title. It does not include the words "and to issue a second card." So I just recommend the title be amended to include "and issuance of a second card." So the title reflects the resolution.
Just say if there's no objection.
Second.
Is it all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed of the amendment? So amended passes, so now we are voting on the resolution. We have a recommendation from the committee, so any questions or concerns? All in favor of Resolution 2023-16?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes with the amendment. So now we have operations, Ms. Greer.
Thank you. That was a lot.
Yes.
Congratulations. So the next item is the recommendation. Staff recommends the board approve the job description for the grant accountant position as presented and in accordance with the approved staffing plan.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the job position as presented?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And now we move on to the program section of trust business. Ms. Greer?
Yes, thank you. Dr. Krupa could not be with us tonight. So the staff recommends the board approve the following local subject matter experts to participate in the Children's Mental Health RFP Review Committee. Ms. Carmen Poe, who has served on our previous committees. Ms. Lindsay Listow, who also has served previously. Ms. Nazy Doler, and Ms. Kathleen Menda. And you have the resumes for each of them in your packet. And then I'd also like to point out that Ms. White will also be a member of the review committee as representative of the board.
Make a motion to accept these.
All in favor?
Can we have a discussion
Yes.
or a question? I just commented to Tammy, and I wanted to let the board be aware of, these folks all have tremendous backgrounds, but they've also worked for entities that are potentially going to be bidders on this RFP. So I want there to be a lot of strong attention paid to conflict of interests. I know that we typically vet our evaluators prior to us knowing who the vendors are going to be. That's perfectly fine. But once we know who the bidders are, we need to make sure we vet them one more time through legal to make sure if there are any conflicts of interest that those are discussed and we're fully aware of them before the evaluation process. We don't want that coming up as a problem later.
Walter's on fire.
Any other questions or concerns? Can I have a motion to second?
Second.
Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Ms. Bush, do you have anything to report from legal? And we do have public comment. Mr. McDaniels? And there's a 3-minute rule. She will start the clock as soon as you start. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on my sons. Last time we met here, it was right before Father's Day weekend, and Father's Day weekend was denied to me, and I got angry. So I wanted to come and repent, and I did sin a little. I used some curse words, and I documented the fact that my sons have moved to their grandparents' house. And in so doing, I now have a restraining order against me for stalking for 1 incident. Okay, this process of trying to fight for my children is absolutely abhorrent, and there's got to be something done about it. I also want to repent to you guys for asking for any money, because I did come across a part of our great Constitution of the state of Florida, Article 1, Section 3 on religious freedom. It says, "There shall be no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting or penalizing the free exercise thereof. Religious freedom shall not justify practices inconsistent with public morals, peace, or safety. No revenue of the state or any political subdivision or agency thereof shall ever be taken from the public treasury directly or indirectly in aid of any church, sect, or religious denomination, or in the aid of any sectarian institution." So that is our Florida State Constitution. And I think we need to be looking at how we are doing government, how we're giving away so much money to all these public sectarian entities and Christian and religious entities as well. This isn't the way this country was set up, and it's not how we should be doing government. I do appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other board comment? With no further business or comments from the board, the meeting is adjourned at 6:07. Thank you.